Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
All right, y'all, and welcome back into the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I'm your host for today's episode, Patrick Kenny, and I have a great show for y'all. So, started out, we're going to get into my predictions for this upcoming month of May, and I have one that I doubt a lot of people will, I don't know, I don't want to say support, but, I mean, there's definitely the possibility of me either, being completely wrong on it, but it's definitely a bold take for sure. And then right after that, I have some stats and standing updates for y'all. And then I have my top few MVP rankings after the first month of baseball. And then right after that, we're going to, with the NFL draft wrapping up, I wanted to go over a few of the best players that decided to play football, or they became a two-sport athlete for at least a brief period of time. Some of those guys are Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson, and Tim Tebow obviously was playing baseball here until just pretty recently, actually. So I think it's going to be a very, very fun show for y'all. So let's just get into the predictions that I have for y'all. Let's just get right into these predictions. And starting off, I have the Minnesota Twins, right? All right, so right now, the Twins are not having a great year so far. Also, I wanted to give, just a quick update, just what happened on the last day of April 30th. Friday, April 30th, I should say. The bench is cleared during the Mets and the Phillies game after a strikeout. Jose Alvarado, has always had a thing with the Mets, and he turned the Phillies' relatively sleepy, 2-1 victory pitcher's duel into a very good storyline for the weekend for sure. After Alvarado struck out Dominic Smith swinging, he was swinging with the tying run on third base, and he celebrated on the mound. Then he said a few things and made a few aggressive gestures toward Dominic Smith, and then obviously Smith took offense, shouted a few things back. Alvarado dropped his glove, and Smith was not backing down. Andrew Kapp, the Phillies catcher, stepped in front of him, but the benches and bullpens were emptied, but it was a standard baseball brawl. Nothing really happened. Everybody just kind of wants to act a little tough, the kind of thing. But nobody ended up throwing the first punch. But right now, I have some bold predictions for the for the month of May. So right now, Minnesota is nearing the bottom of the cellar in the AL Central. They're in fourth place, or they have one more win than Detroit, and they're 2.5 games ahead of Detroit right now. They're 9-15, but I expect Detroit to have a great May, at least for the first 9 days or so. They finish up their series with the Royals on the 2nd tomorrow, or if you're listening to it on the day this podcast comes out, it should be the 2nd. So they're finishing up their series with the Royals. I'm expecting them to win this series. Then they go then they finish their homestand with a 4-game series against the Rangers, and I expect them to win that series as well. And then they go to Detroit, and have a 3-game series there. And then they have an off day on the 10th. And then I think that the Twins are going to start falling back down into, I don't want to say reality, but I definitely don't think that they're going to, I don't think that they're going to climb out of the cellar just yet, but I think that they could definitely make some good progress. Right after the Tigers series, they have a 3-game series in Chicago with the White Sox, and I expect them to lose that series, especially considering how good the White Sox have been right now. Right now, they're 14-11, but I do expect them to definitely get at least. I expect the White Sox to win that series, and then they have a 3-game series against the Oakland Athletics at home, and then they have another 3-game series against the White Sox at home, and then they have a doubleheader on the 20th at the Angels, and then they immediately go the following day to Cleveland to play, and they have a 3-game series with Cleveland from the 21st of May to the 23rd. And then I think that they probably get a series win. I think that they get a series win either against the Cleveland Indians or against the Orioles. But I really don't expect much out of the Twins this month. I think their schedule is going to be tough, and I don't really expect them to. I don't really expect them to really come out of this month in anywhere other than maybe third place, depending on how the White Sox, or depending on how the Royals and Cleveland and obviously everybody ahead of them do. But I really don't expect them to make much of an impact trying to get back into it. I mean, granted, right now they're not too far out of out of first place. They're only 4.5 games back out of the wild card, and they're 6 games back out of first. But I think they're not doing too bad right now. And then they have an off day on the 27th after the series with the Orioles, and then they have a series with the Royals from the 28th of May through the 30th, and then they end the month of May at the Baltimore Orioles. So I expect them to have a pretty decent beginning of the month. So I would say probably the 1st through probably the 9th. And then I expect them to go on a little bit of a skid. And I don't expect them to win against the Angels. And that's for this reason alone. It's because they've had the doubleheader games before and last month. And they did not do well during them. They lost both doubleheaders they had, actually. They had 2 doubleheaders, so 4 games, 2 of them against the Red Sox. They lost 2-3, and then the next one they lost 1-7. And then following that one, they had a 2-game doubleheader against the Oakland Athletics, where they lost 0-7 and then 0-1. And the games that they've gone to extras in, they've lost all of those too. So I'm really not expecting a lot out of Minnesota right now, but I think that they have a decent enough chance to, I would say, get closer to 500 this month for sure. Definitely, I think that they'll get closer to being competitive, but I don't think they're there yet. And so up next is my second hot take, I guess you would call it, for this month of May, and that is Bryce Harper is gonna stay hot. I definitely think that the Philadelphia right fielder is going to stay hot. He's 28 years old. He's in the prime of his life, and he's having one of the best seasons of his career. Right now, he's played in 23 games. He has 25 hits. He's scored 17 runs. He has 5 doubles, 6 home runs, 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and 16 walks. He is right now he has 19 strikeouts, so he's not striking out as much as he was. I mean, he's still not striking out, or he's still striking out more than really you would want, but But he's cutting down quite a bit, and I really think that is a huge improvement on like who he has been as a player. And last year, I mean, this is sort of a similar sample size, just because last year was such a short season. He's played in almost half the games that he played in 2020, and in 2020 he had 49 walks, which led the league that year, and he only had 43 strikeouts. And right now he has a little bit more strikeouts than he does walks, but overall, I mean, like, since he got into the league, he has struck out way more than he has walked. And until last year, and this year, I think he's doing the same thing. And I really think that he's on pace right now for another All-Star appearance. And this is his third year in Philly. He was an All-Star 6 out of the 7 years that he was a Washington National, and he absolutely is on pace, at least right now, to make an All-Star. And then if you gave out the NL MVP, he'd definitely be in consideration at the moment. And we're gonna get into those guys here in a little bit, but also just going to his fielding stats as well. This year he's doing very good right now. Like, he's doing solid enough. He's a solid outfielder right now. And because of how solid he's been, he's definitely doing a great job right now. He doesn't have any errors so far this year. He has 2 assists. He has 40 putouts. His fielding percentage is at 1,000 right now. He's doing a great job right now, and I honestly think that he definitely deserves some consideration right now for his for maybe even a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger potentially. He's definitely doing a great job, and I expect him to stay hot. I know that pretty recently he was hitting the head with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, but he seemed okay afterwards, and as long as he doesn't have any mental, as long as he isn't struggling with anything mentally because of that, I definitely expect him to continue balling out this season. He's 28. He's entering the prime of his career. Over the next 8 to 10 years, he's going to be amazing at baseball. And he's already won an MVP. He's doing a great job so far this year. And I mean, I really can't say enough good things about him right now. He's just doing so well right now. His offensive WAR so far this season is a 1.3. His defensive WAR is a -0.3, but right now that's good enough for him. He has a WAR after the first month of 1, and that's really, really good. Aside from his first year in the league, he really hasn't been anything above maybe an average defensive player, but he's a baseball player that is in the bigs because he can hit the ball really well, not because of how bad he is or how good he is defensively. I mean, his overall, or his his defensive WAR right now is a -0.3, but I definitely could see him getting that up more, especially the more the Phillies go in and give him some, give him a little bit of more help out there potentially. So up next, I think that the San Francisco Giants are quietly going to remain in first place. Right now they have a half game. They're a half game up on the Dodgers. They're doing very, very well right now. They finished their series against the Padres this upcoming, or if you're listening on the 2nd when this episode should be released, then you will absolutely hear or have found out. But I expect them. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they drop down, but I definitely think that they're still going to be in the hunt, and probably for the remainder of the year. a lot of people were counting them out, and honestly, I wasn't expecting anything other than 500 baseball out of these guys, but they are proving everybody wrong, and they absolutely deserve the praise for it. So they have the Rockies the following series from May 3rd through the 5th, and then right after that, they have an off day, and then they have a homestand, a 3-game series against the Padres from Friday the 7th through that weekend that ends on the 9th. Then they play a 2-game series against the Texas Rangers on the 10th and 11th, have a day off on the 12th, and then they go on a pretty long road stand. It's about a week-long road stand against the NL Central. They have a 4-game series in Pittsburgh against the Pirates, and then they have another 4-game series against the Cincinnati Reds at the Reds. And then on the 21st, they return home to play the Dodgers. Now, I would expect the Giants to win the series against the Pirates there on the 15th, and then probably tie the Reds in the series there. And I think that they might be looking forward to the Dodger series more than, and I think that might be one of the reasons why why they might split with the Reds instead of winning that series. But then they have a 3-game series from the 21st through the 23rd against the Dodgers at home, and then they go on another road stand after an off day and have a 2-game series in Arizona against the Diamondbacks, and then a 4-game series in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. So they have 7 games against the Dodgers and 5 games. I'm sorry, 5 games against against the Padres, and if they can go, if they can do enough to at least split those games, because those are very good baseball teams. So if they can somehow go 500 or better against the Padres and the Dodgers, if you combine all the games, if they're able to go 500 against those two teams, I think that they will have a very, very good shot at remaining or at least staying in the conversation for first place in the division. And then finally, I have the boldest take that I am willing to come up with, and that is Jacob deGrom will get run support for the first time in his career, and I think that it's going to happen this month. And I think that the offense for the Mets are going to come through. I think Lindor is going to get absolutely. I think he's 8 doubles away from his 200th double. And he will definitely get that milestone this month, and he's definitely going to bounce back after having a slow start. He's already been booed at Citi Field a bunch of times, but I definitely think Lindor is going to get into stride and start getting hot again. And I definitely think that he will definitely come through. And Jacob deGrom has been fantastic so far. He's only allowed 2 runs. Ironically, he gave up 1 run in those 2 games and ended up losing both games. So unfortunately for him, it just didn't end up working out like that, or in a positive light. But aside from that, I think that it's just really important for I think that the Mets have a good enough offense that they'll be able to bounce back and win games where deGrom is on the mound. It's kind of like the opposite thing where I remember a story about the Phillies. I can't remember what year and I can't remember what pitcher it was, but I think it was in the 80s or 90s, and the Phillies were just awful, but they had one pitcher that was amazing, an amazing ace, and so every 5 days they would say, all right, we got to get him a win today. We got to do it for him. He's too good. He's given us too many opportunities to not lose that game. And it's not like they weren't trying when the other guys were on the mound. It's just like, we know that we can win today because he is on the mound, kind of a thing. And I think that I think that the Mets are going to get that mentality. And granted, the Mets already are going to be fine, but I think once they get that mentality, that they will absolutely help and finally get Jacob deGrom some run support. So we're going to take a short break right here, guys, and we'll be right back in just a second with some stats and standing updates.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome back into the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kenny, and we are in the second segment for today's episode. We're just going to be going over the regular and standard of my updates, the standings and the stat updates as I'm recording this. I'm recording this on May 1st. So once you have all of that scheduled, or once you will have more accurate, standings and stats when you get them, but here's what they are right now. In the AL East, Boston is currently 17-10. They are 6-4 out of their last 10, and they are plus 24 in run differential. Toronto is in second place at 12-12. They are 3.5 games back out of first place in the AL East. They are 1.5 games back out of the wild card at 12-12. They are 500 of their last 10, and that makes sense considering that they are 500 right now. But they are plus 17 in run differential, which is a little interesting, and I definitely think that Toronto is going to get over 500 pretty soon, especially if they keep up their offensive production and their pitching staff keeps holding the opposing teams to the division low in runs given up. They've only given up 90 runs this year, but going to third is Tampa Bay. They are 13-14, 4 games back behind Boston from first place, 2 games back behind the wild card. Unfortunately for Tampa right now, they're 4-6 out of their last 10, and they are on a 2-game losing streak, and they are currently minus 11 in run differential, which is not a great job, or it's not a good thing for success. And of teams that they face that are above 500, they're 5-9 right now. And that's just not a recipe for success right now. Tied for fourth place right now is the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. The Yankees and the Orioles are both 4.5 games back out of first and 2.5 games back from the wild card. Baltimore is 5-5 out of their last 10, but they have gone on a 2-game winning streak. And the New York Yankees are 6-4 out of their last 10, and they won their most recent game. The Yankees are plus 10 in run differential, and Baltimore is minus 13. Baltimore is going to need to score some more runs and stop giving up as many runs. While they haven't given up the division most in runs, they do have the division least in runs scored at 94 runs scored so far this year. So Baltimore is going to definitely need to get some more offensive productivity out of them. But out of games at home, they are ironically a better road team. They are 4-10 at home, whereas they are 8-4 on the road. They are doing much better on the road. Plus, out of teams that are above 500, they are 6-8, which is honestly pretty good. They are playing Oakland right now in a series against them, so they might drop a few more, but right now, Boston has the best record in the American League at 17-10, and they are honestly one of the best teams in baseball right now. They are good at baseball, and that is a shock to me a little bit, especially after that first series against the Orioles. But going now to the AL Central, Kansas City is in first place right now with a record of 15-9. They are 6-4 out of their last 10. They did lose their most recent game, and they are -2 right now in run differential. They have scored 105 runs, but they've given up 107. So they're going to need to kind of switch that a little bit. They're going to need to score a few more runs, but their pitchers need to give up just a few less runs. The White Sox, however, are 14-11. They are 1.5 games back out of first place right now. They're 7-3 out of their last 10. However, they did lose one of their most recent games, their most recent game. They are +29, however, in run differential, which is the second best in the American League right now. They have only given up 98 runs, but they have scored 127. This offense is for real. And their pitching staff is doing just as well as their offense right now. So I would expect the White Sox to definitely keep up their pace that they are at right now. Cleveland right now is in third place. They are at 500. They are 12-12, currently 3 games back behind Kansas City for first place in the division. They are 1.5 games back out of the wild card, however. They're 500 in their last 10 games, 5-5. They did win their most recent game, and they are in a series right now against the White Sox. They are -1, however, in run differential with 95 runs scored and 96 runs against. But so far, Cleveland's doing okay right now. If you're a Cleveland Indian fan, you shouldn't be too worried about the team just yet. Although if they don't pick it up after this month, and then I would not expect much out of Cleveland if they don't start picking it up pretty soon. However, the Minnesota Twins definitely need to pick it up, but I also predicted them to kind of stay in the cellar. They are currently in fourth place of the division. They are 9-15, 6 games back out of first place, and 4.5 games back out of the wild card. While they have won 2 in a row, they are still 3-7 in their last 10, and somehow they are positive in their run differential. Though they have scored 111 runs, but they have given up 109. So they're +2 right now, and they're doing okay. They're like run differential wise. So I would expect them to kind of start slowly moving the train out of the station and getting them a little bit better this month, but I don't expect them to do too much this month. Up next is Detroit. Detroit is 8-19. They have a winning percentage of .296. They have by far the worst record, or I wouldn't say by far, but right now they have the worst record in Major League Baseball. They're 8.5 games back out of first place, only 7 games back, out of the wild card. They are 2-8 out of their last 10. They are on a 3-game skid, and they are by far the worst team when it comes to run differential right now. They are -58 runs currently, and that's not a recipe for success. I would not say that is a recipe for success, even in the slightest. So they are, like I said, they are -58 in run differential, and they are in last place in the AL Central. Going out to the AL West, however, the Oakland Athletics are 16-11, 1 game up in first place. They have lost their most recent game, but they are 6-4 out of their last 10. Seattle is 15-12. This division actually is surprisingly one of the best divisions in baseball right now. Oakland is 16-11. Seattle is 15-12, just a game back out of first place. They are 4-6 out of their last 10, however, but they have won 2 in a row. They are trailed by a half game ahead of the Houston Astros. The Astros are 14-12. They have sort of picked it up as of late. They're a game and a half back out of first place, just a half game back out of the wild card. Seattle currently has that second wild card spot locked up. The first place wild card spot goes right now Seattle has that first wild card spot locked up, and then Chicago has the second wild card spot. They're just a half game back. Houston is of that second wild card spot, and they are plus 31 in run differential right now, which is the best in the American League, and they are doing very, very well right now. Actually, they are only second in run differential, just behind the Dodgers in that category. So the Angels are 12-12 right now. They are 2.5 games back out of first place, 1.5 games back out of the wild card. They are 4-6 out of their last 10, and they are minus 19 in run differential right now. Their pitchers are giving up a lot of runs right now, and part of that is them kind of missing Shohei Ohtani a little bit here and there, because he's dealing with a lot of blister issues on his pitching hand, and that definitely is aggravating him on the mound. And then you go to the Rangers, who are in last place right now in the AL West. They are 11-16. They are 5 games back out of first, but only 4 games back out of the wild card. They are 3-7 out of their last 10 and did lose their most recent game. They also are minus 21 in run differential with 104 runs scored and 125 runs against them. So that's the American League standings right now. Staying out in the West Coast area, we're going to go over the National League West right here. San Francisco, like I've said before, is in first place right now. They are 16-10, 6-4 in their last 10 games, but they did lose their most recent game. They are still positive in run differential right now, with plus 23, with 106 runs scored and only 83 given up. Then the Dodgers are in second place right now. They are a half game back out of first place and a game up on the wild card right now. And that second place wild card spot belongs to the San Diego Padres, who are 15-12, just a game and a half back out of first and just a game behind the Dodgers right now. But that is not all that is going on. The San Diego Padres have won their last 2 games. They are 5-5 out of their last 10. But the Arizona Diamondbacks are 14-12 right now. They are 2 games back out of first and just a half game back out of that wild card spot. They are plus 10 in their run differential category right now, and they are 8-2 out of their last 10. The Diamondbacks are hot right now, and part of that is guys like Madison Bumgarner throwing a no-hitter and that kind of thing. That is definitely crucial for the Diamondbacks. And then the Rockies are currently in last place in the division right now. They're 9-17, 7 games back out of first, and 5.5 out of the wild card. They're 5-5 out of their last 10, and they have lost 3 games in a row, however. They are the only team in the NL West that is not positive in terms of run differential. The Diamondbacks are plus 10. They are in 4th place in run differential. The Padres are plus 15. They are in 3rd place in that. The Giants, who happen to be in 1st place in the division, are in 2nd place in run differential in that division. But the Dodgers are the league leaders in run differential right now, and that's definitely something that should be celebrated. Going out to the NL Central, Milwaukee, they are 16-10, leading the division right now at 7-3 out of their last 10 on a 2-game winning streak. They are plus 10 in run differential with 103 runs scored, only 93 given up. Then in 2nd place is the St. Louis Cardinals. So they are 14-12. They are 2 games back out of 1st place, a half game back out of the wild card spot. They are 6-4 out of their last 10 games on a 2-game winning streak as well. They are plus 9 in run differentials. They have given up 108 runs and scored 117. In 3rd place right now is a tie between the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're both 3.5 games back out of 1st place at a record of 12-13, both 2 games back out of the wild card. The Reds, however, are 3-7 out of their last 10. Granted, they did win their most recent game, however. They are plus 8 in run differential category because of how good their offense has been this year. Their pitching staff, however, actually more so their bullpen, has been blowing games out the wazoo. They have given up 128 runs, but they've scored 136. Nobody in baseball has scored more runs than the Cincinnati Reds, and yet they are only +8 in run differential categories. And I would say that's the only reason their offense is their only reason that they are doing any kind of good right now. And I feel like that is definitely fair to say, and that's definitely ironic considering last year they ranked dead last in batting average, and that is definitely something that the Reds definitely need to be praised about, but they are not doing very well at all when it comes to pitching. They're just not doing well at all. But in last place in the Central is the Chicago Cubs. They are 11-15, 5 games back out of first, 3.5 games back from the wild card. They are 4-6. They have lost their most recent game, and they are -14 in run differential. Pittsburgh, by the way, -16 in run differential. Going out to the NL East for our last division of the day, the Philadelphia Phillies are at 500 and leading the NL East. This is what a lot of people predicted to be the best division overall in baseball, and right now it's not looking like it. The Phillies are 500 in first place. They are 5-5 out of the last 10. They did go on a 1-game winning streak, but they are -15 in run differential. Ironically, the team in last place in this division is the only team that has a positive run differential category. Atlanta is in second place. They are 12-14. They are a game back out of first place. They are 2.5 games back out of the wild card. They are 5-5 out of their last 10. They are on a 2-game losing streak right now and are -10 in run differential. The Washington Nationals are 10-12. They also are a 1 game back out of first place, as are the Mets. But because of winning percentage, this is how the rankings are. All three teams are 1 game back out of first place, including the Braves, Nationals, and Mets. They are all 2.5 games back out of that wild card spot. They're 2.5 games back out of it. Washington is also 5-5, but they have won their last 2 games, whereas Atlanta has lost their last 2. The Mets are 9-11 right now. They are also, like I said, 1 game back out of first, but 2.5 games back out of the wild card. They are 3-7 out of their last 10 and on a 3-game losing streak right now. They are -14 in run differentials, and then in last place currently is the Miami Marlins. They are 11-14. They are a game and a half back out of first place and 3 games back out of the wild card. They are 4-6 losing their last game, 4-6 out of their last 10, but they are positive in run differential, which is kind of surprising considering that they're in last place. But the Miami Marlins are definitely in the hunt this game. This is a very close division race. I just wouldn't call it the best division in baseball right now. Going over a few stats real quick, guys, before we end this segment. Mike Trout leading the league in OPS with a 1,304. Leading the league in slugging percentage right now is also Mike Trout. Leading the league in on-base percentage is also Mike Trout. And guess who's leading the league in average right now? You guessed it, it's Mike Trout. His batting average right now is .425, on-base percentage of a .523, and a slugging percentage of a .781. He is by far the best player in baseball right now, and I don't even think it's close. Leading the league right now in stolen bases is Raymond Lorano of Oakland. Leading the league right now in strikeouts is Joey Gallo and Eugenio Suarez with 40. And then leading the league right now in walks is Max Muncy with 27. Joey Gallo is second in that with 24. Leading the league right now in RBIs is JD Martinez. He has 25 RBIs. Leading the league in home runs, JD Martinez is in sole possession of first place with 9 home runs last month. And then Ronald Acuna Jr., Byron Buxton, Rhys Hopkins, Shohei Ohtani, Ryan McCann all have 8, and then a bunch of guys also have 7. Leading the league right now in triple baggers is David Peralta of Arizona. He has 4 triple baggers this year, and he has actually more triple baggers than he does doubles. He has 4 triples and 3 doubles. Michael Brantley and JD Martinez are leading the league in doubles right now with 10 apiece. And Yerman Mercedes and Cedric Mullins are leading the league in hits right now with 34 apiece. In the pitching stats, ERA, currently the league low is Danny Duffy. He has given up just 1 run on a home run. He has struck out 29 and walked 7 in the 25 innings that he has pitched. He has a .36 ERA out of the 5 games that he started and has a 3-1 record. Jacob deGrom is in second with the only other sub-1 ERA. Out of the 5 games that he has pitched, he has a .51 ERA and just 2 runs given up, only 4 walks, and just those 2 home runs, both of those solo shots. Leading the league in strikeouts right now is Shane Bieber. He has 68 out of the first 6 games that he has pitched in. He's given up 5 home runs, 13 earned runs, and walked 14. Garrett Cole is in second right now in strikeouts with 62 out of the 6 games that he has pitched in. Jacob deGrom has only pitched in 5 games, but he has 59 strikeouts. So it might be hard for him to catch Shane Bieber right here, but it's definitely possible. Shane Bieber has pitched in 7 1/3 more innings than he has. Jacob deGrom only 35 innings. I would say what's most impressive right here, though, is that Garrett Cole has only pitched in 37 2/3 innings, so that's just under 5 less innings than Shane Bieber, Garrett Cole, has 62 strikeouts, whereas Shane Bieber's 42 1/3 innings pitched got him 68. He does lead the league right now in innings pitched by 2 1/3 innings over Trevor Bauer, who has pitched in 40 innings so far this year. So we're going to take a short break after I go over the league leader in saves, which is Mark Melancone of San Diego, and then he has 9, and Jake McGee of San Francisco and Josh Hader of Milwaukee have 7 apiece. So we're going to take a short break right here, and then I'm going to go over my MVP rankings after the first month of the season.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome into the third segment of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, the podcast all about Major League Baseball. So in this segment right here, I have my MVP rankings after the first month. And we're going to start out with the top 4 that I have in the in the National League. In the National League, at number 4, I have Jesse Winker. Now, Jesse Winker has had a great season so far. So far, he is hitting .370 with 6 home runs, one of the league leaders in home runs right now, over 400 on base percentage, and an OPS over 1,000. He is doing a great job so far. And in the last 7 games, he's been basically the same player that he was over the last 30 games or so. Over the last 7 games, he has had 11 hits out of 30 at-bats, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. Over the last 15 games, he has had 65 at-bats, 11 runs scored. Over the last 15, 22 hits, 5 home runs, and 13 RBIs, as well as 5 walks and 16 strikeouts. And now, granted, there haven't been that many games, or that much played so far this year, but Over the last 15 games, he kind of took a little bit of a dip in the hitting category. He's hitting .338, but over the last 7 games, he has definitely improved of where he was before. He's hitting .367 over the last 7, and over the course of the season, he's hitting .370 right now. His slugging percentage over the course of the season is a .679, and he also has a .700 slugging percentage right now over the last 7 games or so. He has 30 total hits out of 81 total at-bats so far this year, 16 total runs scored, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs, 6 walks, and 19 strikeouts. He's doing a very, very good job so far this year, as well as in the field as well. He's doing pretty well so far this year. He's DH'd, he's played right field and left field so far this year. He didn't DH this year. He DH'd a lot last season. He's played 152 and a third innings in left field and 3 2/3 innings in right field. He has so far this season, he has a total of 27 putouts. He doesn't have any assists, but he does have 2 errors so far this year. So he's not doing great defensively, but he's never been a great defensive player as is. I mean, granted, he like aside from in 2019, he's still a young kid. He's only been in the league since 2017, but he does have almost his career high in errors so far. In 2019, he had 3 errors in left field, and this year he already has 2 errors out in left field. And those can happen really at any time. Like in all seriousness, those can happen at any time. It could just be one bad game where you just can't field the ball at all, and then all of a sudden you have 5 errors to your name for the season, and you just don't know how, and the rest of the season you're perfect, but because of that one game, you just totally shot yourself in the foot kind of a thing. And then up next, I have Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper so far this year has been fantastic. He is honestly, in my opinion, I think he is on his way back to being a all-star. He hasn't been an all-star since he left the Nationals, but he's definitely doing much better this year in Philly. He is absolutely doing a great job. So over the last 7 games, he's had 26 at-bats and 7 hits, 3 home runs, 6 runs scored, 3 RBIs as well. He has 3 walks and 6 strikeouts and 1 stolen base. Now, granted, over the last 7 games, he hasn't hit all that well, but he hasn't really had that many at-bats over the last 7 games. He's been getting a few days off here and there, and that's kind of why his average is kind of lower over the last 7 games as opposed to the last 15 or the entirety of the season so far this year. I mean, he's only played in 23 games, whereas guys like Jesse Winker have played in 20 or 25 games, or for JD Martinez, for example, and so there's going to be some discrepancies right now, especially with rain delays. There's a lot of rain delays early in the season, and then also COVID protocol, missing a few games here or there for whatever reason, kind of thing. But over the last 15 games, Bryce Harper has had 53 at bats. He has 18 hits over the last 15 and 11 runs scored, as with 5 home runs, 7 RBIs, 8 walks, and 13 strikeouts, as well as his 2 stolen bases over the course of the season. He is hitting .340 over the last 15 games, has a .435 on base percentage, and a .698 slugging percentage so far. Over the last 30 games, or I guess the entirety of the season so far, it's been about 23 games for Bryce Harper. He has had 78 at-bats, 25 hits, 17 runs scored, 6 home runs, 10 RBIs, 16 walks, and 19 strikeouts with 2 stolen bases. I'm actually very proud of how Bryce Harper has been performing so far. He's been one of my favorite players for a very long time to watch. I think he's been one of my favorite players since he was a prospect, and I was like maybe 9 or 10 when he was a prospect. He's been one of my favorite players for the longest time, and it makes me like so happy to see that guy just ball out. And I am so happy that he's doing well this season. I think if he keeps it up, he will definitely be an all-star this year. But like we already went over a little bit earlier, that he just hasn't had a great year defensively, which I think might keep him off of the MVP category right now. The reason Jesse Winker is also low is just defensively, plus the Reds kind of hit a skid for a little bit. And I know baseball is a team sport, and it's honestly the ultimate team sport, but because his team wasn't performing that well, I think I threw him in the conversation because I think he deserves to be there for the National League, but I don't know if he is definitely deserving of being of being really. I mean, I just don't know if he is really deserving of the MVP as of right now. Jesse Winker, I mean, and then Bryce Harper also. I mean, the Phillies are in first right now, and that's partially due to him, but they're not doing great right now, and like they're just kind of underwhelming, I would say, to say the very least. But overall, I think that he's doing a pretty good job. Honorable mention before I get into number 2. Joe Musgroves, I would say, is one of the better pitchers right now in the National League, but I don't think that I can throw him in the MVP conversation yet, just because I just don't think that he is there yet. Granted, he does have the lowest or second lowest ERA in the bigs right now, or in the National League, I should say. And he does have a complete game shutout, no hitter, but he only has 29 innings pitched so far this year, and but other than that, he's been fantastic. He has 41 strikeouts, only 5 walks. I think if he can definitely keep that up and be to where he really should be. Now, up next is Ronald Acuna Jr. Acuna so far this year hitting .341, has an on-base percentage of .443, and an OPS of 1,148. He's doing a great job this year. And over the last 7 games, he's had 22 at-bats. He only has 4 hits, though. So over the last week or so, he's really kind of struggled. But so far this season, he just got off to such a hot start that I think he'll definitely bounce back. I mean, the kid's only 23. But over the last 7 games, he's hitting .182. His on-base percentage, however, is .400. He has 6 walks over the last 7. And he only has 4 strikeouts. So he's still getting on base and making a difference, but he's just not putting the bat on the ball right now, and that's all right. Over the last 15 games, however, he's hitting .269, does have a stolen base there, 8 strikeouts, 16 walks, 10 RBIs, 4 home runs, and then also 14 hits and 17 runs scored. So he's doing a good job over the last 15 games. He's just kind of hit a little bit of a skid, and that happens all the time in baseball, and he's definitely going to bounce back from it. Absolutely, for sure. Over the course of the season, like I said, 88 at-bats, 25 runs scored, 30 hits, 8 home runs, 18 RBIs, 15 walks, and 14 strikeouts, along with 3 stolen bases to his credit, for a .341 batting average so far this season, a .443 on-base percentage, and a .705 slugging percentage on the year for the kid. He's doing a great job this year, and I'm super excited to watch and see what he can do. And then my NL MVP after the first month of the season is, wait for it, Jacob deGrom. deGrom has been fantastic this year. You can't ask a pitcher for more. When your pitcher gives up 1 earned run off of a solo home run, pitches almost the entirety of the game, and still loses, because your team isn't pitching, that's definitely not on DeGrom at all. He is absolutely one of the best players in baseball right now, and I think he had the best month out of anybody in the National League. Obviously, his record doesn't reflect that. He's pitched in 5 games. He has a 2-2 record, so he didn't get a decision on one of those. He left the game, and the only times that he's lost are the 2 games that he gave up a solo home run. And I think it's a shame that the Mets haven't been able to get him yet, or haven't been able to sort of pick him up, really. And over the last 5 games that he's had, he has a .5 ERA, 35 innings pitched, 16 hits given up, 4 walks, 2 earned runs, and then 59 strikeouts. His WHIP right now is a .57. He's crazy good right now. It's honestly pretty ridiculous. He has a complete game already this season. He has, like I said, 16 hits. He's thrown 417 or 73 pitches in the 35 innings that he's had. So he's being super efficient with the baseball. It's crazy to me. He only has 4 walks given up. He hasn't hit anybody yet this year. 59 strikeouts in 35 innings is ridiculously good. And opponents are only hitting $138 off of him. He's by far the best pitcher in the National League, at least this past month he was. And he definitely deserves to be a part of the conversation. Now going over to the American League for a little bit. In number 4, I have Yermin Mercedes. Mercedes is a first baseman in DH for the White Sox. This dude is balling out this year. He's fantastic. Last year was his first year. He really only had this is really his rookie year. He's definitely my leader right now for American League Rookie of the Year. He's doing amazing so far. He's hitting .415, has a .455 on base percentage, a .113 OPS. He is 28 years old, so that's a little bit, iffy, but he's making his debut well known. He is making a scene and making a name for himself. 34 hits, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs through the 82 at-bats that he's had. He has only played 1 game at first base so far this year. He's mostly been a DH because they have Jose Abreu at first base, but his bat is definitely there, and I think that he is doing a great job this year. 400 over his last 7 games, hitting 400, 444 on base percentage. Over the last 15, he's hitting .352 and a 775 on base percentage. Over the last 15 games, he struck out more than, you would really like to see a guy like this, but he's doing a great job. 16 RBIs so far on the year, 5 home runs, 34 hits, 10 runs scored, as well as 6 walks to his credit. He's doing a really good job. You really can't complain at all about him. In third place, I have Danny Duffy. Now, you might be saying, whoa, how do you have Danny Duffy so low, even though he's probably the best pitcher in the American League right now? It's hard to disagree with that. He has a 3-1 record right now. He has a .35 ERA. He has pitched in 5 games, but he's only pitched in 26 innings. And that's why he's so low, because if he had pitched in, a 35 innings like DeGrom has, or even 29 innings like Joe Musgrove has, that's one of the reasons that I haven't given those guys, really the credit that they probably should deserve. But opponents are hitting 200 off Danny Duffy, and that's really good. He's only given up 1 earned run the entire year on a solo home run. He's struck out 30 batters, but he's given up 19 hits. And with that, plus the lack of innings, I think that's why his ERA is so low right now. And that's really just what it comes down to. Now, in second place, I have Mr. JD Martinez. Now, JD Martinez has been going off this year, and you're probably wondering, oh, well, if JD Martinez is in second, well, who's in first? Well, I'll tell you that in a little bit. Come on. But right now, JD Martinez is hitting .351, has 9 home runs, leading the league, or tied for the league lead in home runs. He has 25 RBIs, 21 runs scored. He's hitting .351, like I said. He has an on-base percentage of .430 and an OPS of 1,175 so far. He's doing a great job right now. You really just can't compete with him, unless you're the number one guy that I have so far. Over the last 15 games, he has had 51 at-bats, 11 runs scored, 16 hits, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 9 walks, 13 strikeouts, and a .314 average with a .426 on-base percentage, a .606 slugging percentage as well. But over the whole season, he is hitting .351. He has a .430 on-base percentage, like I said, and a .745 slugging percentage. He's doing a great job at the plate so far. And then my number one guy is the Mike Trout. Mike Trout is a stud. He is so good. He's the kid. He is the kid. He's amazing. Mike Trout so far hitting .425 this year, has an on-base percentage over 500. He's hitting over 400 and his on-base percentage is over 500. This dude is unstoppable. His OPS right now is 1,304. His career average OPS is 1,004. His career average is 306. He's hitting .425. His career on-base percentage is a .419. Right now, he's getting on base .523. He's been amazing. Over the last 7 games, he's hitting .560. He has a .593 on-base percentage and a .960 slugging percentage. This dude is going off. He's been just a beast. He has 23 strikeouts on the year, which is a little bit much, but he's still getting on base over 500% of the time. So you can take the 23 strikeouts that he has. And he also has 14 walks, 14 RBIs this year, 6 home runs, and 31 hits out of the 73 at-bats that he's had. Oh, and by the way, he's also a really good center fielder. There's a reason why we all gush over him. He's been amazing this year. So far, he has 29 putouts. He doesn't have any errors. He's played 177 innings out there. He's been amazing this year. And it's honestly pretty crazy how good he has been this year. So that's going to do it for this segment. And then right up next, we're going to talk about some of the best players that could have been Major League Baseball players but ended up playing football, or they did a kind of what Bo Jackson and Primetime did, where they played both sports kind of a thing. So we'll be right back here in just a second.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And welcome into the final segment of today's episode. I think I have a pretty interesting segment for y'all right here. So basically, there are a lot of football players that really could have played baseball. And a couple of them might surprise you, actually. So, I mean, I think we should just jump right into it and kind of get into the stats and stuff and everything that everybody kind of played with, and everybody had a great time playing baseball before they ended up being great football players. So first, obviously, Patrick Mahomes was a 3-star athlete coming out of high school. He was actually drafted straight out of high school. He had a mid-90s fastball. I think he definitely made the right decision going to play football, considering he's arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time already, and he's played in maybe 3 or 4 seasons. He's made it to back-to-back. Yeah, no, he's actually played in 2 seasons. He's been in the league for 3. Brought his team to back-to-back Super Bowl appearances, won in one of those appearances, and happy to lose to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So there's really nothing more that you can really expect out of there. But the first guy I want to talk about is Kyler Murray. Now, the 5'11", 195-pound kid from Allen, Texas, was drafted by the Oakland Athletics in the first round in the 2018 June amateur draft. Obviously, he graduated from Oklahoma University, and he did pretty well, honestly, in his few years as a college baseball player. So in 2017, he was 19 years old. He was playing for Oklahoma, obviously. I couldn't find any of his stats with the Texas A&M Aggies. I know he transferred to there, but I couldn't find any of his stats for them. But I do have his Oklahoma stats right here. So in his first year as a 19-year-old college football and baseball two-way sport athlete, he played in 27 games, had 64 plate appearances, hit just a $122, had 12 stolen bases, however, 13 walks and 20 strikeouts. He only had 6 hits during the year, so he really didn't do very much, but he did have 6 RBIs, which is actually pretty impressive. During the summer, he played in Hardwich and in the CCBL. He played in 16 games there, hit a $170, did hit a home run out of his 8 hits that he had, also had 2 doubles, and had 47 at-bats that summer. He didn't really play that well his first year at the age of 19, but at the age of 20, he played very well. He played in 51 of Oklahoma's games. He had 226 plate appearances, 189 at-bats, had 56 hits, 46 runs scored, 13 doubles, 3 triples, and 10 home runs, had 47 RBIs and 10 stolen bases. Got caught stealing 4 times that year, but still. He had 28 walks, 56 strikeouts. He hit .296 on the season, had a .398 on-base percentage, and a .556 slugging percentage. Now, his all levels combined, he hit .246 because of how bad his 2017 was playing baseball, at least hitting-wise, but he was definitely good enough to be a first-round pick in the Bigs, and that's something that's very impressive. And like I said with Patrick Mahomes, I think he made the right decision playing football. He gets to be the quarterback of a very good team that basically looks like the Houston Texans right now from a few years ago. They just happen to have Kyler Murray as quarterback now instead of Deshaun Watson, but that's still it's still pretty interesting to see how good of a player he was at a different sport. He was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. Now, Russell Wilson, that is the second guy I want to talk about. I have 5 guys that I kind of want to talk about right here, and Russell Wilson is the second guy I want to talk about. Now, Russell Wilson spent 2 years as a minor league infielder, and then he decided to go play quarterback and win a Super Bowl kind of thing. But, it is what it is. Being one of the greatest quarterbacks of this generation has its upsides, I guess. The Orioles took Wilson in the 41st round in 2007. He hit .296, a .351 on base percentage, and .417 as a college freshman at NC State. He also led the Atlantic Coastal Conference in quarterback rating and passing touchdowns, and was the first freshman to win all ACC honors at quarterback. However, a concussion in his bowl game sidelined him for most of the 2009 baseball season. He hit 236, a 333 on base percentage, and 292. And then a 292 slugging percentage when he got back to the field. That fall, he was fourth in the country with 31 touchdown passes and led the ACC again. He hit 306 with a 443 on base percentage and a 490 slugging percentage during his junior year in baseball, and he was picked up by the Colorado Rockies in the 4th round of the 2010 amateur draft. That fall, he was amazing that year. He was assigned to the Tri-City Dust Devils in the summer of 2010, and he hit 230 at a 336 on base percentage and a 377 slugging percentage. He only fielded at 993 at second base. He had one error in the 31 games that he played. It returned for another year of football in college. He threw for over 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns. He hit 228, a 366 on-base percentage with 15 steals and 17 tries in 2011 for the Asheville Tourists, and then he retired on baseball to focus on football. Obviously, that move kind of panned off, and he became the starting quarterback for Seattle in 2012. Obviously, he ended up winning a Super Bowl very, very early on in his career. His baseball career wasn't quite over yet. The Rangers selected him in the 2013 Rule 5 draft, which in what was generally viewed as just basically a headline grab by the Rangers. But in 2014, he guided Seattle to winning a Super Bowl, beating Peyton Manning and the Broncos, only to increase, obviously, Russell Wilson's profile and create an additional baseball interest in some circles. The Rangers gave him an open invitation to come to spring training in Surprise, Arizona, and while the minor league Myrtle Beach Pelicans, the Rangers Class A affiliate, offered to make a substantial donation to a charity of his choice if he would suit up for just a game or simply even just make an appearance at the stadium, he did show up at Rangers camp and worked out with the team, although it was pretty quick to point out that there was no way he would take part in a Cactus League contest just because of the risk of injury. Ron Washington added that the purpose of Wilson's visit served as motivation for his players, and that it was character and his winning attitude to rub off on the rest of the players, and he took his part. Obviously, that was pretty much the end of Russell Wilson's baseball career. In the minor leagues, he had a career average of 229, a 354 on base percentage, and a 356 slugging percentage. He didn't really hit too many home runs, only 5 in his career, but he also had 26 RBIs and 29 stolen bases in his career. He had 118 strikeouts, which is quite a bit, but when you think about how he was trying to do two things at once, and even though the Cincinnati, Ohio native, he was doing a lot of stuff at once, it's still very impressive that he even tried to get to the bigs the regular way. It's just so impressive. Up next is a kind of a surprising one, honestly. I also have Golden Tate, the wide receiver, as one of the best guys that could have probably played some really good baseball if he had chosen just baseball. So he was very good at baseball if he's on this list. He was an all-region center fielder at Pope John Paul II High School in Henderson, Tennessee. There's also a Pope John Paul II JP2 down in Corpus Christi. I know that for sure because I actually used to have to play them a few times. But Golden Tate was actually selected by the Diamondbacks in the 42nd round of the 2007 MLB draft, but he opted to play Notre Dame where he could play football and baseball. As a freshman, he hit 262 for the Irish in 18 games and 42 at-bats. And then as a sophomore, he hit 329 in 55 games. Starting 54 of those games, he had 222 at-bats that year. But that was really the end of his baseball career. In his junior year in football season, he had 93 receptions, 1,496 receiving yards, and 17 touchdowns, and then declared declared for the draft with a year of eligibility left and in two with baseball. The Seahawks drafted him number 60 in 2010. While Tate was reporting to Seattle, the San Francisco Giants selected him in the 50th round of the MLB draft. I was good enough to start at a major college, Golden Tate said. I wouldn't say I was great. I struggled hitting curveballs. My speed was what got me around. I hit it to the left side and just let myself run, and that's what I did. That was what I did. I'm sorry, guys. I stumbled over my words there for a second. But he said, I thought I had a chance to play professional ball, but my love for football overtook that. Baseball was my first love. I was drafted out of high school to the Diamondbacks, and I was drafted also my rookie season by the Giants, the year they won the World Series. I was pissed off at myself. Like, did I just miss out on a World Series? Little did I know that 2 years later I was going to win my own Super Bowl. The decision to play football obviously has worked out for Golden Tate. In addition to a Super Bowl title, he's also been a Pro Bowler and made over $30 million in his career. And also, he and Russell Wilson would have made a heck of a baseball duo in their time in Seattle had the Mariners kind of needed or wanted to go that route and throw those two guys out there. But he was one of the guys, and more surprising when I was doing my research to try and find some of that stuff. Up next is Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, obviously a fantastic athlete, and one of the, I don't want to say disappointments, because Jameis Winston was a very good player, and I just feel like obviously, he led the league in touchdowns one year, but also led the league in interceptions, and then immediately went and got LASIK surgery. And unfortunately for him, he was cut, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up bringing in Tom Brady. And then he ended up going to the Saints, and right now that's kind of history for him, at least. I think he has a good shot at starting this next season, but he's definitely done a pretty decent job, I would say, professionally in football. But this is a baseball podcast, and he was one heck of a baseball player. He was a two-way athlete on the baseball field, actually. He was a pitcher and a hitter. He pitched in 2013. He pitched in 17 games, had a 1-2 record, a 3 ERA. He had 2 saves, 27 innings pitched. He had 18 hits given up, 9 earned runs against him, just gave up 1 home run and 12 walks. He struck out 21 in the 27 innings that he pitched in, and he did pretty well. The following season, in pitching-wise, he went 1-0, had a 1.08 ERA, in 24 games pitched. He had 7 saves, 33 1/3 innings pitched, 18 hits given up, just like the last season, but he only pitched in 27 innings the prior year. He pitched in 33 that year in 2014. He gave up 4 earned runs, no home runs given up, and only walked 7, whereas he struck out 31. His pitching career ended with a 2-2 record, a 1.94 ERA, 41 games pitched in, 9 saves, 60 1/3 innings pitched, only 13 runs given up, only 19 walks, and 52 strikeouts for his college career pitching-wise. Now, hitting is a little bit of a different story. This kid played in 67 games for Florida State at the age of 19 in 2013. He had 28 hits, 21 runs scored out of the 119 at-bats that he had. No home runs, but 7 doubles and 3 triples, 9 RBIs, and he also had 22 walks with 33 strikeouts. He hit .235 that year in 2013, and also had a slugging percentage of 345. The following year in 2014, he only played in 42 games where he was able to hit. He had 39 at-bats, just 5 hits, unfortunately, and 2 of those were doubles. He did have 4 RBIs, and 8 walks. But as we kind of figured out when we went over the pitching stats, is that he was going to be a pitcher when he was drafted. He definitely had the opportunity to go and I would say he definitely had the opportunity to kind of I don't know. It's hard to say. He definitely would have had a good opportunity to make it as a pitcher instead of a hitter, but that's definitely not the most surprising player that we're going to talk about today. So while we end this episode, I have Tom Brady as one of the guys who could have been either a two-way player or even just a baseball player. Well before he was the greatest quarterback of all time, he was actually drafted in the 18th round of a big league draft by the Expos. The only reason he lasted that long was because most teams expected him to go play football at Michigan. And obviously he did. But that didn't stop the Expos from putting the full court press on Brady, hoping to convince the promising catcher with a left-handed hitting power and a strong arm from, obviously throwing runners out. Obviously, Tom Brady has had a very strong arm in his NFL career. Not so much nowadays, but then again, he is in his 40s and is still playing football. But the Expos drafted him out of high school. He was a left-handed hitting catcher and had a great arm from behind the dish. Instead, the Expos ended up trying to convince Brady the opposite and telling him that he was better heading off to go and play in Ann Arbor on the gridiron. When Brady tagged along for a workout with the Expos during a road trip in San Francisco to play the Giants, players like F.P. Santiago encircled Brady and told him that he should play football. This is from Kyle Berger. Quote, "We're like, why in the world would you make $800 a month and play in front of 100 people in the minor leagues, riding buses for 10 hours when you could play in front of 100,000 people at Michigan's Big House on Saturdays?" That's what Santiago said. Quote, "Enjoy the college experience." So here's John's experience kind of backfired, where he was supposed to say, "Hey, Tom, play baseball." And we're like, "Hey, Tom, play football." So that's just a fun story that Tom Brady almost played football, or baseball. I'd never heard that story before until until I was doing some research. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank y'all so much. Follow me on Twitter at Patrick Kenny, KENNEY _ and follow us on Twitter at GSMC Baseball _baseball, actually. Leave a review on Apple iTunes. Leave a comment on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. Rate, like, and subscribe. Give us a review. If you give us a 4-star review, I'm going to pull a Bomani Jones here and say that I am inclined to believe that you are a hater. I hope you guys have a great rest of y'all's night. You guys have a fantastic rest of y'all's week. I'll see y'all later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.